In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 college football games happening on October 7, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 college football games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Oklahoma versus Texas. ESPN's College Game Day and their crew's annual appearance at the Red River Showdown between the 3rd-ranked Texas Longhorns and the 12th-ranked Oklahoma Sooners will see another rivalry-defining meeting set to take place at the iconic Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. This matchup marks the 119th meeting between these college football powerhouses and its last as members of the Big 12, with Texas holding a slight edge in the series at 63-50-5. Notably, both teams find themselves in the top 12 rankings simultaneously for the first time since 2011. The Longhorns come into the game with impressive wins over Alabama and Kansas, having already faced ranked opponents this season. In contrast, this showdown serves as Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners' first-ranked matchup of the year, promising an intense and highly anticipated battle at the Texas State Fair as this turns into a Southeastern Conference game in 2024. One of college football's most intense rivalries will take place on Saturday at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Last year, the game was completely one-sided, with the Longhorns winning 49-0 as they rudely welcomed new Oklahoma coach Brent Venables into the rivalry. In the last 10, however, the Sooners have won 7 of those matchups, including 4 out of 5. You can bet Venables has had this game circled on his calendar since last year and will have his team ready to go. Unlike last season or even in recent memory, the Sooners' defense comes in ready to stand up and be counted. Oklahoma's defense has allowed 49, 48, and 45 points in the last 3 meetings, but comes into this matchup ranked 24th in the country in total defense. They have been good in the red zone, ranking 28th in the country in efficiency. Texas is even better in the red zone, ranking 1st in the country in red zone defense. Both teams can move the ball on offense, with the Sooners ranking 6th in total offense and the Longhorns coming in at 12th. To me, this game comes down to intangibles. Both teams are solid on both sides of the ball, and both teams protect the ball well, with a slight edge going to the Sooners. Texas is more disciplined than Oklahoma when it comes to penalties, but I think the Sooners coach Venables will stress the importance of unforced errors this week. The Sooners' defense under the leadership of Brent Venables has shown remarkable improvement and versatility, making it challenging for opposing offenses to predict their strategies. On the offensive front, Dylan Gabriel has demonstrated his ability to put up big numbers and lead scoring drives, even against tough opponents like Iowa State and Tulsa. Additionally, Oklahoma will be highly motivated to avenge their 49-0 loss to Texas in last year's matchup. Lastly, the Sooners are 4-2-1 against the spread against ranked opponents since 2021. More often than not, the Sooners have a Texas number in the Red River rivalry in recent years, and this Sooners team looks far better than the one that stumbled into last year's matchup and lost to Texas 49-0. I have to think that result has stuck with Oklahoma for a year, and they've had this game circled on their calendars. That's not to say Texas hasn't as well, but Oklahoma's been solid so far, and I think they at worst keep this close. In the end, the game comes down to a field goal one way or the other, and we could be staring at an overtime game that is decided by 2-point conversions ultimately. Oklahoma is most certainly smarting from last year's one-sided Texas domination, and they will be ready to go on Saturday. So the Oklahoma Sooners to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. While I do have serious questions about the legitimacy of quarterbacks that Oklahoma has played to this point, the Sooners' defense is undeniably improved in year 2 under Brent Venables. I'd like to see the pass defense do it against an actually competent quarterback, but the metrics are still strong. The run defense appears to be the biggest strength, with Oklahoma ranking at 2nd in opponent expected points added per rush and 16th in opponent rushing success rate through its first 5 games. On the other side of the ball, while both of these teams have the capability to produce explosive plays, I expect the game to be played at a deliberate tempo with both coaching staffs looking to avoid making the big mistake that could swing the outcome of the half or game. I'm confident in Texas' ability to get off the field on third down consistently, while Oklahoma should be able to generate some stops, particularly early in the game. Taking the under in something called the Red River Showdown feels wrong since it's a Wild West-style shootout each season, but both teams possess solid defenses that have shown improvement this season. The under is 2-0 in Big 12 games this season for the Longhorns and 8-4 after a Texas win since the start of 2022. Given the factors at play, including the potential for defensive stands, turnovers, and clock management, taking the under provides a favorable betting opportunity for those seeking a more controlled and lower-scoring contest in this highly anticipated matchup. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Maryland versus Ohio State. Maryland looks for a big upset when they meet number 4 Ohio State on Saturday afternoon from Columbus. The Terps have won 7 straight games going back to last season, while Ohio State did not play last week after edging Notre Dame 17-14 2 weeks ago. Last season, the Buckeyes beat the Terps in College Park 43-30, but didn't cover the 25 points. The Terrapins have bullied every team they have played so far with their high-powered offense. They have scored 31 points or more in all 5 of their games, while their opponents have scored 20 or less. The other side of that coin is that Maryland has only played opponents whose combined record this season is 8-17. Ohio State started the season slow, but in the last 2 weeks have looked like one of the best teams in the country. They blew out a good Western Kentucky team 63-10. Then their defense stepped up big with a 17-14 win over Notre Dame. They still won their first 2 games with a combined margin of victory of 24 points, so even though people said they were struggling, they got the wins easily. This will be a good test for the Buckeyes, as the Terrapin offense is nothing to mess around with. That final score doesn't do the Terrapins any justice for how close that game was, as it was a 33-30 Ohio State lead with about 9 minutes to go. A late Ohio State field goal in the final minute, followed by a fumble recovery touchdown for Ohio State in the dying seconds, put that score in the record books as we see it. This year's game should see a final score in that same ballpark, as Maryland's attack is good enough to find enough holes in Ohio State's defense to score on at least a few drives. The Terrapins also don't mind taking shots down the field with Tagovailoa, and connecting on those big chunk plays is critical for any big underdog going against a great defense like Ohio State's. Even with all their offensive skill, it's just going to be too tough for Maryland to have 10-plus play scoring drives against this Buckeyes defense frequently enough to hang around. Splash plays to cut severely into that 29.2 opponent yards per point number Ohio State defense currently owns always helps, and with Maryland owning a 7.1 yards per play number themselves, the Terrapins are plenty capable there. Maryland also is tops in the country in turnover margin per game, and if that is lucky enough to continue this week, maybe a shocking outright upset comes into the picture. The Terrapins forced 5 Michigan State turnovers in their only other road game this season, and if they are on the plus side of that equation against the Buckeyes, this point spread is going to look very disrespectful in hindsight. When looking back at Ohio State, they put up just 23 points on Indiana on the road. They didn't cover the 44.5 against football championship subdivision Youngstown State at home. Even though they got the win against Notre Dame, they rushed for just 126 yards. Maryland is not Notre Dame, but they are much better than Indiana. They have the offense to give the Buckeyes a scare, and when you look at last season's matchup, Tagovailoa put up 293 yards at home with 2 touchdowns and outdueled C.J. Stroud, who is better than McCord. I'm not saying that Maryland will get over the hump, but they have the ability to make this a very close contest. So the Maryland Terrapins to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Maryland's defensive numbers are nothing but a mirage, and they'll be severely exposed by a rested and frustrated Ohio State team that's had 2 weeks to prepare. This will be the 3rd time Ohio State will be facing Maryland's 600 Brian Williams, and they've scored 66 and 43 points against him, even after trailing 13-10 at the half last year. All it took was a few minor adjustments at the break, and the Buckeyes scored a touchdown on their first possession of the second half, and ultimately won the third quarter 17-0. One-sided explosions possessions in a quarter are known to happen for the Buckeyes, and if Maryland's defensive numbers are just a byproduct of a soft schedule, Ohio State won't take long to expose it. Maryland's got to figure they are going to need at least 30-plus points to have a chance at pulling off the upset, and if their defense is legit and they've got the Buckeyes contained, the Terrapins can adjust to their offensive needs on the scoreboard on the fly. It's not going to be easy slugging for them either, but should the Buckeyes' offense explode and turn this one into a laugher, garbage time points from Maryland only help backdoor against the spread and over possibilities. Even with the tremendous defensive numbers on both sides, there is just too much offensive talent on the field to strongly believe it will be the defenses who win the day here. I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the Ohio State offense in what amounts to a great bounce-back spot for them. Questions about the legitimacy of Maryland's defense play into that as well. Defensive-minded games are not particularly how either side wants to play it either. Maryland averages 37 points per game and 454.8 yards per game. Their offense has been one of the best in a loaded Big Ten conference along with Ohio State. The Buckeyes average 34.5 points per game and 447.5 yards per game. These offenses are right on par with each other on paper, with the difference being the level of competition they have played against. Ohio State and Maryland have played similar opponents skill-wise besides the Notre Dame game for the Buckeyes. They have played one common opponent in Indiana where the Terrapins won 44-17 last week, and the Buckeyes won 23-3 in Week 1. I think this tells the stories of these two teams in that the Maryland offense is very explosive and will score a lot of points, but the Ohio State defense is one of the best in the country, only allowing 8.5 points per game and 255.5 yards per game on average. I think the Ohio State defense is going to be the difference in this matchup. Both of these teams can score points, but Maryland's defense is not nearly as good as the Buckeyes. Also, Ohio State has already played one explosive offense this season in Western Kentucky where they won 63-10. The over is 8-0 in the last 8 matchups between these teams, and 11 of the last 15 games for the Buckeyes. This game could turn into a track meet. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. LSU versus Missouri. The Missouri Tigers play host to the LSU Tigers on Saturday afternoon in a crucial Southeastern Conference showdown from Forot Field at Memorial Stadium. LSU looks like a title contender in the preseason, but after 5 weeks, already has a pair of losses. For Missouri, an undefeated start has them thinking that they might have the recipe needed to overtake Georgia in the Southeastern Conference East, at least for a season. Missouri won the last time these two met, while LSU won the other matchup in 2016. This one could either way and could be the best matchup in the Southeastern Conference on the weekend. Chip Kelly and the LSU Tigers are coming off a disappointing 55-49 loss on the road against Ole Miss. It's shocking that LSU lost after gaining 637 total yards in the losing effort. We may have seen rock bottom in that game for the LSU defense as it surrendered 706 yards to the Ole Miss offense. That unit has notably struggled to start this season, but it's hard to imagine it playing as poorly again. LSU has another big test in this game against QB Brady Cook and the Missouri Tigers. Cook is arguably the most underrated quarterback in college football. He has been everything that head coach Elijah Drinkwitz has wanted to start this season, as the junior quarterback has thrown for 1,468 yards, 11 touchdowns, and no interceptions. A big reason for Cook's success is wide receiver Luther Burden III. According to PFF, Burden is the highest-rated receiver in the Power 5. He is most often compared to NFL star Deebo Samuel for the dynamic ability he brings to the Missouri offense. Jalen Daniels and the LSU offense were incredible against Ole Miss, and this offense is arguably the best in the Southeastern Conference. Missouri has played with a lot of heart this season, but LSU is by far its hardest test yet. LSU has lost 3 of their previous 4 games against the spread in their opponent's home stadium, including last week's defeat at the hands of Ole Miss. Their defense has allowed a total of 86 points to their opponents in their last 2 matchups, and they have dropped out of the top 100 in average points allowed per game. Missouri's offense has scored 30 or more points in 4 of their 5 games so far this season, so they should put up a significant amount of points on the board versus a struggling LSU defense. Missouri has won 3 of their previous 5 games played at Forot Field against the spread dating back to last season. They have covered the spread in each of their last 2 contests, including a 38-21 victory over Vanderbilt on Saturday. Missouri won outright and covered in their previous battle battle with LSU at home, which came during the 2020 season. Missouri quarterback Cook, fresh off of a career-high 395 yards and 4 touchdowns versus Vanderbilt last week, will be too much for a vulnerable LSU defense to handle in the end. This line doesn't make sense to me and is complete disrespect toward an undefeated Missouri side that can produce offensively but is also solid defensively, which includes being 9th in rush defense. LSU may be the more talented team overall, but it's coming off a hard-fought loss to Ole Miss and hasn't shown much heart defensively. LSU is 117th in total defense, 110th in pass defense, and 110th in scoring defense. Missouri, a near full touchdown underdog at home. Give me the home dog. So the Missouri Tigers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Missouri has gone over the point total in 3 of their last 4 games at home, including in their matchup with the Kansas State Wildcats, which saw a total of 57 points scored a few weeks back. They also have gone over the point total in 3 of their 5 games played this season overall. The Tigers' offense has scored 23 points or more in each of their first 5 games and 30 or more in 4 of 5. The offense is currently ranked 42nd in the country in average points per game with 31.3, and they also rank 21st in yards per game with 455 total yards on average, so they are capable of scoring quickly in bunches versus the LSU defensive unit. LSU has an elite offense this season, currently ranking 15th in the nation in average points scored per game with 37. They have gone over the point total in each of their first 5 games of the season and in 9 straight dating back to November last year. LSU is arguably the best offense in the Southeastern Conference and displayed that firepower last week when they totaled 49 points and 637 yards of offense. While that recent offensive performance is encouraging, it was LSU's defensive struggles that locked me into the over. LSU surrendered 706 total yards and 55 points against Ole Miss. LSU missed 38 tackles against Ole Miss, which resulted in an additional 288 yards. While I believe LSU is going to put up a better defensive performance this Saturday, it's hard to imagine that those mistakes will be fully cleaned up, especially on the road against an undefeated Missouri team that will be fired up to make a statement. When LSU has played this season, their games have been filled with plenty of points. They have one of the country's most explosive offenses, while coupling that with a lackluster defense as well. Last week's game against Ole Miss saw the record books turned upside down when it came to scoring and total yards. While Missouri doesn't have quite the offensive firepower of some of LSU's other opponents this season, they still have enough in the tank to put up plenty of points of their own. I see this game being close throughout, with both offenses putting up points. The trends strongly suggest these 2 squads will bust through the point total on Saturday. Expect fast scoring drives and plenty of touchdowns, as both teams score at will in what should be the highest scoring Southeastern Conference game of the weekend. Over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.